Over the next half hour, I'm going to open up my defensive playbook to you. And I'm going to show you the types of drills and skills that we teach to our players in order to be able to use our defensive system effectively. We want our drills and our skills to stay consistent with our basic beliefs that maximum pressure should be applied on the ball at all times, and that we want to build our defense from the man-to-man standpoint first. We're going to show you the skills that we use to teach good, solid man-to-man stances and slides. And then from there, we're going to apply the principle of maximum pressure into full court pressure and also a really nice half-court matchup zone defense that will, again, apply maximum pressure while still teaching the kids the skills that they're going to need. Because these defensive principles that we're going to show you here can be used for players of all skill levels. Regardless of the ability level or size, you're going to be able to take the ideas from this, apply them to your situation, and hopefully have the same success. All right, before we can build our team man-to-man defense or even our team matchup defense, we have to first master a few defensive fundamentals. And there's nothing more basic than stance. There are three main types of stance that we teach our players to use, and they can use them in a variety of situations. We have our basic on-ball stance, where we're going to apply direct pressure to a ball handler. We're going to have our denial stance, where we're going to try to keep the basketball from getting in the hands of a player who does not yet have the ball. And we're going to have our help position or our pistol position stance, which we want our players to get into so that they can maybe move over to help out another player when help is needed. To help teach this and make our players understand the importance of stance, we do a drill that's commonly called the wave drill. And we'll put them in a line as we've got these four players in a line here. From here, I'm going to be able to put them in the proper stances and then check and see that they are getting down and doing the things that they need to do. All right, the first stance that we're going to look at is going to be our basic on-ball stance. When the players are in the on-ball stance, we want to start from the ground up. We work with their feet. So fellas, just go along with me as I say it. The first thing we want them to do is to put their weight on the balls of their feet. They're not going to be on their toes. They're not going to be up here, and they're not going to be back on their heels. They're going to be on the balls of their feet. So go ahead and put your weight on the balls of your feet so you're ready to go. Second thing is the foot width. We want the players to have their feet around shoulder width apart. So get your feet about shoulder width apart. This is important because it provides a really good base for the defensive player. This player is going to have to move laterally very quickly, and if they have a good base that's not too wide or not too narrow, then they're going to be able to be on balance all the time. From there, we got their knees flexed just a little bit, not a complete bend, but they're down low enough. And to get the kids to remember this, we talk in terms of sitting on the defensive toilet. So they're down here right where they need to be. And if they think in those terms, they never tend to forget about how low they have to be. So go ahead and get down on the defensive toilet for me. Very good. The next thing we want to do is we want to put their backs in the proper position. Their backs should be straight but not rigid. We want them to be flexible enough to move. The thing that we're trying not to see, we don't want to see the player who's hunched over. And all of our players right here are in good position. They're doing an excellent job of keeping their balance and their back straight. Head should be relatively centered. They're all doing a good job of that. The last thing we have to put into this basic man-to-man stance is their hand position. We tend to teach our players that we want to have one hand that's going to be used for digging at the basketball and the other hand in the passing lane. Which hand you use is entirely up to you. But I think that we should have one of our hands out, so get one hand out, palm facing up. This hand is going to be used to distract a ball handler and possibly flick the ball away from a ball handler, creating a steal. The other hand should be out, maybe to the side, trying to deflect in a passing lane. We want you to be comfortable, but you also need to be able to have quick hands to stab or flick at the ball. Remember, we're not trying to intercept a pass, but rather we're trying to touch and deflect it from here. So let's get ourselves in our stances and get nice and comfortable. Okay, good. Everybody up? Now, when I say defense this time, I want the players to get down, slap the floor. That'll help put them in position so that they're low enough on the defensive toilet, and then they're going to stay in their stance, and I'm going to walk by and check their stances. Okay, ready? Defense. On balance, nice and low. I should be able to come by and put a little bit of pressure, but not be able to knock over these players if they're on balance. And so far, they're all on balance, so that's a good job. Okay, everybody up? All right, the next stance that we want to teach is our denial stance. And we use that stance when we're trying to keep a player who doesn't have the ball from getting the basketball. All right, to do this, we'll use our same line drill, and we're going to imagine that there's an offensive player right on this side of the player. So players, I'd like you to face this direction. We're imagining that the basketball is out front. And again, we're going to start with a nice shoulder width apart, wide base. On the balls of your feet, relax, knees flexed. The only thing that's really different about this stance is going to be arm position and body position. The players are kind of sideways in relation to where the basketball is. They're still facing their man. The key to the arm position is they're going to get the arm that's going to be closest to the basketball's location into the passing lane. So we want this hand out so that the palm is facing the basket, or the basketball, and that the thumb is facing down. So notice how all the players now have their hands out into the passing lane. This is the hand that's going to be used to deflect the pass as the pass is trying to be made to the man they're guarding. The other thing that's very important is the other arm. So while this arm's in the passing lane, we want them to put this other arm in an arm bar position. They've got this hand here. This arm needs to be in what we call an arm bar. We put it here because we want to discourage the player from reaching out and holding the offensive player. So go ahead and get that arm bar up there. It also allows the defensive player to maintain spacing so that an offensive player may not move up into their body. The arm bar is a way for them to hold their ground without fouling. Okay, everybody up? When I say defense, you're going to hop into your denial stances. You don't need to hit the floor. I just want you to get in your denial stances. Ready? Defense. Good. Now you got your arm bars up. Good. Hands in the passing lane, ready to stab at it. Let's try it one more time. Don't need to touch the floor. Just get into your denial stance. Defense. Excellent. Nicely done. All right. Go ahead and relax. The last stance that we're going to teach them is we want them to get comfortable in the pistol position or the help stance that we'll put them in. This is going to be facing again toward the basketball. And the situation where they'll use this will be when they're maybe on the help side, their man is more than one pass away, and they need to be in a position so that they can see both their man and the ball without looking at either one, using just their peripheral vision. So to do this, we start out with our nice wide base again, shoulder width, balls of our feet, knees bent in an athletic stance. That's good. And now the thing that's different is what we're going to do with our hands. We're going to put our hands in what we call pistol position. Go ahead and get your hands up just like you've got 2 6-shooters in your hands, and one of them is going to point at your man and one is going to point at the ball. And using peripheral vision, you can imagine that you're one point in a triangle so that you can see both the ball and your man without looking at either one. The pistols are up there to remind you where both of them are. As the ball or your man move throughout the court, you would need to readjust your floor position. Okay, relax. When I say defense, you're going to, without touching the floor, you're just going to leap right into pistol position. Ready? Defense. Okay, now we can go up and down, knees bent, back straight. They should be on balance again. They're looking to a point, not at the ball, not at the man, but they're seeing both. Okay, all 4 of these players are doing a good job. They're on balance and ready to go. Okay, you can go ahead and relax. Okay, those are the 3 stances that we teach our players and that we want them to use throughout all of our defenses, whether it's a man-to-man defense or a zone defense. Early in our season, I think it's really important to try to win a game, and I know that's kind of counter to a lot of youth philosophy, but the reason is because I think that the kids want to win. But once we get that under our belt, as we get into the middle of the season, then teaching becomes the most important thing. We stress our fundamentals, we go over the drills over and over, day after day, until those things are parts of our game that we'll take from then on. That way, when the end of the season rolls around and it's tournament time, we're ready to play sound basketball. And it doesn't matter what type of defense or offense gets thrown at us. We know that we've got 12 basketball players who are good, sound, fundamentally developed basketball players who are going to be able to withstand anything the other side brings on. Once our players have mastered the skill of stance, we next want to teach them how to slide properly. The defensive slide is the main way that they're going to stay with the offensive player as the offensive player moves about throughout the court. The way we do this is our defensive slide the lane drill. We're going to put a player right here at the foul line, and in a moment he's going to get into his main on-ball defensive stance. We'll hold him in that stance for a count or two so we can check and make sure that everything's still the way it's supposed to be. Once the coach is satisfied that he's in the proper stance, that player is going to execute a lateral slide and going to slide all the way over to the side of the lane and touch this side of the lane with their foot before sliding on to the next side. Now, a couple of things this player needs to do while he's sliding. First of all, we don't ever want to see a sliding player bring their feet together or cross their feet. Their feet should stay about the same width apart throughout the entire length of the slide. Second of all, we don't want to see the player hopping up and down like this. The minute they rise up, they put themselves in a bad position and allow the offensive player to go by. We want this player to keep their eyes on an even level as they slide the court. That way, they are on balance through the entire length of the slide. This is also an excellent conditioning drill because the player will be really exerting a lot of energy as they go back and forth. So let's go ahead and put the player into the defensive stance. What's going to happen is I'm going to call defense. The player's going to slap the floor, get into the basic on-ball stance, wait for a count while I check to make sure the stance is good, and then execute the lateral slides. All right. Defense. Okay, looks like everything's okay. He's got his feet, knees, back, hands in the proper position. When I say go, begin your lateral slides back and forth. Go. Good. Try to get all the way to the side. Good. Keep going. Stay low, stay low. Good. As a player gets more and more confident in what they're doing, you can have them quicken the pace and then work on really getting after it and trying to burn some energy here as they get back and forth. Let's see if we can go game speed for just a count. Ready? Defense. And go. Okay, good. That's a tough drill, but if they can do that for 30 seconds or maybe a minute at that pace, not only are they going to get themselves in great condition, but they're going to make sure that their footwork is solid even though they're getting physically tired. In keeping with our philosophy of maximum pressure on defense, we want to apply the skills that we learned in our stances to covering the offensive player as he tries to cut out and get the basketball. This is where we're going to put our denial stance into play. We're going to set up our drill where we're going to have an offensive player who is going to cut out from the baseline and look for the basketball on the wing. The defensive player is going to be in a full denial stance and slide along with the offensive player. The things we're looking for here, we want to make sure that the defensive player stays low, stays on balance, keeps the hand out in the passing lane, and has the thumb down, ready to go ahead and slap at the ball should a pass be made. The offensive player will go out, come back, go out again, and then I'll make the pass to the offensive player. The defensive player must then transition from a denial stance to an on-ball stance. After the offensive player is squared up, then the drill goes back again. We will rotate from the offense to the defensive player to the end of the line. All right, we have our line set up down here. Let's get our first offensive player and our defensive player in a good denial stance. Go ahead and begin in denial. Notice how the defensive player is being able to see both his man and the ball without looking at either one. That's an important point. Offensive player, go ahead and make your cut. Slides out, good, cuts back, and good. We get the ball there, and now they man up. Very good. Let's go ahead and rotate. Offense to defense, defense to the end of the line. Offensive player, make your cut. Defense, make sure you can see the ball. Good. Cut down. Good. And back. Square up. Good. Now we want to make sure that that defensive player is able, when we man up, to get so close that they can put their palm on the chest of the offensive player. So after the pass is made, make sure you jump out and get right on him. Let's go. Next two. Good. Seeing both. Good. Slide back. Good. And man up. Excellent. Next two, hustle up. Okay. Go. See the ball? Good. And man up. Excellent. Next two. Okay, hold it, hold it. We want to make sure we can see the basketball. So before you take off, go ahead and get in your denial stance. Can you see the ball, see the man? Good. Now turn that palm so it's facing the basketball. Turn your left palm right there. We're going to want to turn this one just so it's facing the ball. There you go, thumb down. So just in case I throw it. But put it in the passing lane in between me and the player right here that I'm trying to throw to. So what you're going to want to do is come a little bit more like that and turn your body just a bit this way. Arms straight, bend it there. Excellent. All right, nice and relaxed. Make sure you can see me. Go ahead and make your cut. Go. Good. And back. Okay, come on back, get the basketball. Come on out. Okay, let him get his pass. Man up. Good. Here we go. Okay, go ahead and get up on him a little bit more than that. Go ahead and move in defense. There you go. Okay, let's run your cut. Good. Cut in. And back, man up. Excellent. Because a lot of teams are going to be facing our type of maximum pressure and the way we deny the wings, teams are going to try to attack us back door. They're going to think that they can pull our defensive player far from the basket and then cut right to the basket behind and get easy layups. We go out of our way to practice a skill that will keep that from happening to us, and that's called our backdoor denial drill. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this drill up the same way we set up our denial drill, only we're going to force the offensive player to make a sprint right at the basket, and the defensive player is going to have to play him properly. Let's go ahead and set it up and walk through the footwork of it. Okay, the offensive player is going to make the same cut. Defensive player is in the same denial position. Go ahead and make the cut. Pop out. Now at this point, when the offensive player gets to the three-point arc, that means he's gone far enough. The offensive player is now in a direct cut to the basket. The defensive player will continue to slide up until the point where he sees that this player is going back door. At that point, we want the defender to snap his head around to the other shoulder and get the other arm up and pick up the basketball as best as possible to prevent the easy pass from going over the top. Offensive player, if you're not able to get that pass, then you're going to cut right back out, head snap back, get the ball, and we'll man up from there. Okay, so let's start it with you two. Go ahead and go down to the baseline. Remember offense, the minute you get to the three-point arc, then you're cutting hard to the basket. Okay, ready? Go. Good slide out. Go. Nice head snap. Not there. And there, and we man up. Okay, that's an excellent job. Okay, offense to defense, defense to the end of the line. Okay, good denial. Here's our cut. Cuts all the way to the basket now. Good turn and back. Good position. Nice. Next two. Okay, go ahead and get yourself in a denial position. Make sure you can see the basketball. Get so you can see both basketball and the player. Maybe move a little bit closer to the offensive player. Good. Okay, offensive player, make your cut. Go. Comes on out. Head snap. See me here. Good. And back. There. Good job. Next two. A little bit closer to the offensive player. Good. Okay, make your cut. Good denial. And back. Head snap. Oh, try not to turn on us. That's good. Players will sometimes want to turn the opposite way, and it's important that you get them to go ahead and stay facing the man and turn their heads. Okay, sometimes they'll want to spin themselves around and trip themselves up. Try to get them to spin their heads instead. It's an easier maneuver. Okay, ready? Okay, run your cut. Good, not there. Head snap, see the ball? Excellent. And there he is. Good. Let's do one more. Get right up on him. Good denial stance. Okay, make sure you can see the basketball. There you go. Okay, run your cut. Good. Head snap, not there. And we square up. Okay. By doing this, we're going to keep teams from beating us back door and make them try something else. It allows us to still stay aggressive with our maximum pressure and doesn't allow us to get beaten for easy layups. In youth basketball, there are very few dominating low post players, but it's important for us to teach our defensive players how to properly play a man in the low post. And it's all about footwork. And we spend a lot of time on this drill because we want people to know exactly how to move their feet in order to be able to stay on balance while also being able to deny the passing lane of the low post player. So to set it up, we go ahead and we put an offensive player in the low post and a defensive player on him in denial position. This person's going to get his hand in the passing lane and he's on balance. He's ready to deny a pass from outside. What we're going to do is the pass is going to go from the front court to the corner. And when that pass is made, this defensive player is going to have to change the position of his feet. Now, there are two ways he could go. What we consider to be the wrong way would be to go behind, because we want to apply maximum pressure at all times. So the way this defensive player is going to do it is he's going to go around the front. He is going to step across the front of the offensive player and end up now on the low side as the ball moves to the corner. Again, in a denial position, nice low base, ready to contest any type of pass that's going to come from the corner to the post player. We feel that going across in front is important because we don't want that player to be open for even a fraction of a second. And by doing so, it's the quickest way of getting there while still staying on the man. Okay, let's go ahead and set it up. You're in your denial position. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and step back. And we're going to move the ball to the corner. And when we move the ball to the corner, the player is going to move his feet so that he can get in front and to the other side of the low post player and into the opposite denial. All right, here we go. Very good. On balance and ready to contest. If the pass came back out front, then the opposite maneuver would be made. Very good. Okay, again, you're nice and low. Good denial position. Pass to the corner. Good. Step in front, ready to play. Good, and he's in a denial position. Very good. Okay, footwork is really the key with this, and it's something that you can't practice enough. You need to make sure that you're always going back and forth in front of the player, and you're never ever getting yourself caught behind. The minute you're behind, it's very easy to get the ball into the low post, and then you're vulnerable for a score. The primary drill we use for teaching our half-court man-to-man defense is called the shell drill. And we start out with just simply 4 defensive players, no offensive players. And we do this so that our players can get to learn floor position. Okay, we divide the court right up the center along what we call the midline right here. The side the basketball is on becomes the ball side. The side opposite the basketball becomes the help side, because we want our players thinking in terms of helping out if the ball goes to the other side quickly. We start out with a guard, defensive guard in this position, and we have a defensive guard in this position, a defensive inside player down here, and another defensive inside player down here. We want to get our players used to playing as they would as the ball moves from player to player in the offensive set. So if I were an offensive player and I was right here, this player would be in a man-up position. We would want him in a good, solid, basic stance. He would be nice and low. He's going to go ahead and bend at his knees. His hands are going to be out. And we want our players to get so close to the offensive player that they can put their palm on the offensive player's chest. So this player will be nice and close to me. Okay? Go ahead and stay in that position. Let's set everybody else up. This guard over here, who is on the help side, is going to be in a denial stance. We want this player denying the pass from that side to the help side. And he's going to do that by putting his inside foot high. He's doing a good job of that. He's going to have this hand in the passing lane. Notice how he's got his palm facing the basketball and his thumb is down. He's on balance. He's ready to deflect any pass that's going to go from one guard to the other. This low player on the strong side is also in a denial position. So he is going to put this hand into the passing lane, palm facing the basketball, thumb down. Doing the exact same thing, denying the pass from the guard down to this ball side forward. Probably the most important player on the floor at this point is going to be this player down here. He is the help side player. He is 2 passes away. That means that if the ball were to travel from its position up there to his man, it would take at least 2 passes, either from the guard to the forward, or from the guard here and across. It's going to take at least 2 passes for this guy's man to get the ball. So we want him to go ahead and step in to the center line here, what we call the midline. And he's going to be in pistol position. We call it pistol position because we want this player to make pistols with his fingers. He's going to point one of his pistols at his man and one of his pistols at the basketball. He's in pistol position. Okay, we always want our players in this type of help pistol position to be able to see both the man and the ball without looking at either one. So he's in excellent position right here. So as the basketball is in this position, our shell is set. Now the key is to whether or not these players are going to be able to adjust as the ball moves to different positions. If the ball goes to the corner, now this player would have to play in a man-up position. He's going to get in that same stance, palm being able to touch me. This player right here is going to drop to pistol position. He is now in a help stance because we're not going to deny the pass from the inside out. We're going to allow backwards passes. This player right here has moved a step closer because the ball is now below the foul line. So he is going to be in more of a help position. His man is actually now 3 passes away before that player can get the ball. So he's more concerned with where the ball is than his man, though he's still pointing with his pistols at both the man and the ball. This player right here, if the ball is in the opposite corner, is going to drop to a help position on the center line. He also will now be in pistol position, pointing with one hand at his man and one hand at the basketball. All these players are now in a help position and ready to play it as the basketball is put right here. What you can do then is begin to move with the basketball and have the players adjust as you adjust the ball on the floor. So as the basketball moves from here to there, get back and shift into your position. So go ahead and move. Good. You notice how the players all move. Every time the ball moves, the players move as if they were on a string. They go when the ball goes. They don't go until then. Ball comes back here, and they're in position again. Now, in this position, they are ready to do a couple of things that are very important. The first one is help and recover. Help and recover is where if this player gets beat on the dribble, say the offensive player wants to drive into this area here, he's going to call help. And as he does that, this player, who is in the help position, is going to slide over and force the offensive player to pick up his dribble. This player will then recover and get back on his man, allowing this player to flow back into the space where he belongs. So it's help and recover. Let's do it a little bit faster and see how it looks. Ball's here, gets beat, and we're right back there, and then he would bleed right into his space over there. That's help and recover. You can do the same thing from out front. If the basketball is right here, and we're man up here, notice how they all shifted back to the denial. If the driver goes this way, here's the help and the recovery, and then you go right back to your man over there. That's help and recover. Okay, the second thing that we try to accomplish out of our shell drill is to stop the baseline from being taken by the offensive player. We do this by teaching baseline rotation. With the basketball in this position, this player is man up as he is. We have our help side player who is in pistol position underneath, right down here. He is going to be the player that's going to come and save the day and stop the driver on the baseline. This player here is in his help position. Again, we want him in pistol position here. We're not going to deny a backward pass. We're going to allow that. This player is also in pistols here, ready to help out if necessary. We start the baseline rotation by putting the basketball right here. This player is ball up. We simulate the need for the rotation by having the player with the basketball drive baseline. And so this player is going to step up, and notice what he did here. He made sure that he stopped the ball outside of the lane area. That's very important. If he comes too late and tries to stop the offensive player once he's in the paint, he's going to be able to score. But he did a good job of coming all the way out and stopping here, allowing this player here to recover. And now we've got a trap situation if we want. We've squashed the ball down here, but it's not done yet. These two players will stay here. This player needs to make a deep drop. Once the baseline's given up and this player is going to step over to help out, this player needs to make the deep drop all the way down to prevent the pass from going from this position here to the player that was left over here. This man is going to go ahead and just drop in just a little bit more, staying open, keeping sight of his man, which is right there. You can say pistols, okay? So in this position with the basketball here, now the only pass that's available to the offensive player is the worst pass, and that's the cross-court pass. The pass from here to here is cut off. The pass back out will be defended. This player has to throw that way, okay? Let's back it up and show it one more time. Come up here on me. Pistols, pistols, excellent. Everybody's in good position. Driver goes baseline, stops me outside of the key, recovers. There's the deep drop. Player squashed on the baseline. Good job. Key characteristics to a good, sound defense. First of all, I think you have to be aggressive. You cannot sit back on your heels and wait for the offense to come to you. They can't dictate the tempo. We really believe in maximum pressure. We're going to get up and make things miserable for the offensive player as best we can, because we want that offensive player uncomfortable. The next thing I believe the defenses have to have is they have to incorporate some sort of full court pressure. There are a couple of benefits in that. First of all, full court pressure requires a lot of preparation on the part of your opponent. They have to go out of their way to get ready for you if you apply really good full court pressure and use up a lot of valuable practice time. Also, with full court pressure, we feel we can get a lot of easy scores for our offense and take the pressure off, picking up deflections and layups. It also puts us in a good situation for playing time. Full court pressure demands that players are in peak physical condition, but you still wear a lot of people out. And that's good because it gets other basketball players on the floor, and that's what we think is really important, is to get as many people out there as possible with an opportunity to play. In our pressure defense, we want to go ahead and set up the 4-1 press. A lot of people call it a diamond and one. We call it a 4-1 simply because we want to have 4 players with the ability to trap and thinking as trappers. 4 people who are going to be trying to actively trap and steal the basketball. Each one of these players has a specific role based on where they are on the court and the position of the basketball. Start here with the ball man. His job is to apply maximum vertical pressure on the inbounder. So if our inbounder is right in front of him, we're going to have this player doing everything he can to encourage the passer to make a short pass into this area here or an area right over underneath the basket. We do not want the ball to be able to go over his head. So to do that, this player is going to have his arms directly above his head, and he's going to be jumping up and down, straight up and down, just like that. Okay, that's good. And we want that player to do that and move as the inbounder moves up and down the baseline. Anything he can to discourage the overhead pass. The next 2 players we have in our 4-1 press are going to be our first line of trappers. These will generally be quicker players, maybe 2 guards or point guards. And we're going to position them about a step or 2 inside of the foul line extended, so we're going to want them about where they are. Their primary job is going to be to pick up the first trap. When the ball man does his job and the pass comes into this area, this player will step over, and what he's going to do is he's going to contain the basketball and not allow any vertical advancement of the ball. He's going to hold the player until our ball man can go ahead and slide over. Come on, ball man. You're going to slide over, and then they're going to set the trap here, and this is the way it's going to work. Okay, go ahead and move on back. As that's happening, we now have our middle player here, and we call this player the shadow, because he is going to shadow the basketball. Wherever the basketball is in relation to the baseline, moving up and down, he is going to move with it. So as the basketball moves this way, the shadow man is going to slide over. Simultaneously, while he's sliding over, the second trapper, if the pass comes here, is going to come to the middle. So go ahead and fade to the middle. All right. The last player that we need to set up in our 4-1 press is our deep back player. And we want this player to go as far forward or come as far forward as he can without letting anything get over his head. That's his simple rule. Nothing can get over this player's head under any circumstances. So the quicker the player is, the closer he can come up. And we want him to come as quick as possible up this way because he's going to have an opportunity to get steals as they try to throw the ball over the top. Offenses breaking this press will tend to panic, and he will be in a position to pick up a lot of steals. The thing that cannot happen is he can never be beaten deep. Once our players are comfortable with this 4-1 alignment, then we're going to go ahead and add offensive players. We want to see how they're going to rotate when the ball comes inbounds, and we get that good pass that we're trying to encourage right there in the corner in what we call the kill zone, when we're going to want to trap the offensive players right there. And so what's going to happen is we're going to add our 2 offensive players. Thank you. All right, the ball is going to be in the hands of our inbounder, and we're going to have our ball man applying maximum vertical pressure with our 2 trappers. They're going to be in position to stop the vertical advancement of the basketball, contain him until the ball man can come and set the trap. Okay, let's go ahead. Ball in. All right, our first trapper is going to slide over. His first role is to contain, which he did a good job of that, and allowed our ball man to come over and set the trap. Notice what we have right here is we've got their feet in a good L position here. This ball handler is locked up. He's not going to be able to split the defenders and get out. Their knees are flexed. They're nice and bent down like this. They're in athletic position as far as that goes. And they've got their hands up, and we want to get them to put their hands behind their ears. So we always teach them to put their hands behind their ears. The reason for that is this way they're not going to have the tendency to want to reach out and slap. If they're going to try to deflect the ball or defend with their hands behind their ears, then what we have is a situation where these 2 people become deflectors. They're trying to deflect the basketball, not trying to steal it as they're in their trap. These players here, they're the ones that are going to be picking up the steals from the deflections. So if these 2 people do their job, they're going to get a tip pass, and that's going to allow our 2 interceptors to pick up the ball. At any point in time, in any type of press or trap, you have 2 people who are trapping, 2 people who are in a interceptor role, and 1 person who is deep back, and that's our deep back player there. Should the ball be rotated back to the inbounder, make the pass, you will hold the vertical advancement, very good, slide over, our shadow man slides over, and we still have our trap situation. Generally after the second trap though, we are done. You won't ever really get a 3rd trap out of this. And at that point, then we're into defensive transition, looking over our inside shoulder and sprinting back to the paint. This next drill is a favorite of mine because it encompasses both offensive skills and defensive skills. It forces our offensive players to be able to relax in a pressure situation, to be able to pivot without panicking and find an open player. For our defensive players, it forces them to learn to set good traps without fouling. Too many times in a trapping situation, players will reach and slap. In this, they'll have an extended trap situation where they'll have a pinned offensive player. They need to keep their hands back behind their ears, look for deflections, be aggressive but not foul. So to set this drill up, we're going to start out with a player at half court with the basketball, and that player is going to dribble in to a trap situation that we're going to set up with these 2 defensive players. That player will then come in here and pivot until he's released by me to make a pass. The player will continue to pivot and not give ground, stay strong with the basketball. Defenders will play aggressive but not fouling defense. They're going to be all over him, but they're going to keep their hands back, seeking to deflect. Once I release the player to make a pass, he's going to look to hit one of these 2 offensive players. Here we have an offensive player, and we have an offensive player over there. So once the trap player is released to make the pass, he's going to look to hit one of these 2 players. This defensive player here in the center is going to try to pick up any deflections that come from the trap, and he's also going to try to play the offensive players as they score under pressure. So what we have in this drill is we have a trapped player, we have 2 defensive players trapping him, and then we have scoring under pressure underneath. Okay, let's go ahead and set it up. Okay, go. Good, pivot, 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 keep moving, see if you can split. If not, pivot, good, good, pivot around, good, pass. Nice. Score that. Very good. Okay, set it up. Go ahead. Okay, pivot, 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 pivot. Be aggressive. Move, move, pivot. Pass. Good inside score. Nice job. We feel that by doing this type of a drill, our players are going to get used to high-pressure situations, both as offensive players and defensive players, and it also allows us to keep our time short in practice and not have to waste too much time with specialized offensive or defensive drills. This drill takes into part all the things that we try to do, both offensively and defensively. Our practices, we go just about every day. We'll take a day off now and then near the end of the season, but for the most part, we go Monday through Friday, and then we'll go for about 2 hours a day early in the season as we're trying to get our players in condition. Probably 30 to 40% of those practices are going to be conditioning-oriented things. Now, this isn't the type of conditioning that we did when I was a player, which is we get on the baseline and run and run and run. We believe in conditioning with the basketball. So the types of things we're going to do to get ourselves in shape are also going to be developing our passing skills, our ball handling skills, and our ability to communicate with each other. Okay, defensive transition is one of the most important parts of our defensive package. We want to make sure that we get ourselves back on defense quickly. We pick up the basketball so that we can see it and know where it is, and then hustle back, backpedaling into the key area. To do that, we set up our defensive transition drill. The players are going to start on the baseline. They're going to sprint full speed to half court, looking over their inside shoulder, simulating the look for the basketball. When they get to half court, they're going to execute a reverse pivot, and they're going to get low, and then they're going to backpedal, making sure that they're leaning forward, and they're going to pump their arms so that they can keep themselves on balance. And you want to get them to stop before they go all the way to the baseline so they don't run into the wall. Okay, fellas, ready? Go. Okay, the players did a really good job there of staying low and making sure they stayed on balance. What you can do to add to this drill is you can add a communication point where the players will maybe call out names of their favorite professional basketball players or something like that to get used to talking in transition. Okay, let's go ahead and do that on this one. Ready? Go. Call your players, call your players. Very good. Even though we use the man-to-man defense as our base defense, we feel the need from time to time to switch to a zone. We've toyed with the idea of just using a regular 2-3 zone or a 1-3-1, but we feel that those aren't aggressive enough. So to stay in the idea that we're going to be the aggressors when we're on defense, we use a matchup zone. And we find that for youth basketball, the 1-2-2 matchup puts the most pressure on the offense, forcing them to take perimeter shots that they don't want, that we want them to take. So in the 1-2-2 offense, we're going to set it up just like this. We're going to have a point player who is going to be out around the top of the key area to start. This player needs to be the quickest man you have. This player needs to be able to get all over the floor and be able to run without tiring at any time. This player is also the one that you'll replace very quickly because he'll wear out. A lot of people will get to play this spot. Then you have your next two quickest people who are going to take this position, and we want to put them on either side of the foul lane here, about with the free throw line extended. And then finally down low, you're going to put your bigger people, one on the block down here, and then one across from him right over here. All players at all times should be looking and seeing the basketball, and that's the key. All players need to be seeing and playing on the basketball. Each also has specific roles in relation to where the basketball is. Okay, it's very important that every player on the court know exactly who has the basketball, because unlike regular zone defenses where there are times when the basketball is not necessarily covered by a person, in a matchup zone, there's always somebody on the ball. We let other people on the court know this by making a ball call. So this first player is going to come out and pick up the basketball right away. When he does that, he is going to get as close as he can to me in a good defensive stance and very aggressively shout ball. And that's going to let everyone on the court know exactly who has the basketball. It also tends to intimidate the offensive players a little bit, and that's one of the other goals of this defense. So come on out and let's do a ball call.
Ball.
Okay, that's good. He's out, he's down, and he's ready to play. Everybody in the gym knows exactly who has the basketball. And now this player's responsibility is to stay with the ball as long as it's above the free throw line extended on into the backcourt. We would want this player to come all the way out. Sometimes if we feel we have a quickness advantage, we'll have this player start all the way down at the other end of the floor. But he will aggressively hawk the basketball as long as it's in this position. So this player will now stay with me no matter where I go as we cut down here. So as the basketball comes down here, this is where we get into the transition area at the free throw line extended. As the ball comes below the free throw line extended, this player will be bumped off by this player. But he does not go until he hears the next player call ball. So let's set that up again. If I'm the offensive player and I come this way, you're still on me, but now I go below free throw line extended, ball. This player comes up, shouts ball, and I am now his responsibility, and he's going to stay with me wherever I go on the court again as long as I stay below the free throw line extended. That player made a nice move here. After he left me, he dropped right into the defensive high post, thereby taking away the middle, so any pass to the middle is going to be contested. All the other players are all facing the basketball, so they are aware of any movements that go on. So now I am the responsibility of this player, and he'll stay with me as I move around and go from here to there. As we dribble here or we dribble up there, he's going to stay with me. The only thing that would change that would be if I break the free throw line extended. Okay, if I go back up here, then we know what's going to happen.
Ball.
And then we'll bump right off, and we're back into our normal matchup shape again. Go below free throw line extended,
Ball.
and he drops. All right. What will happen when the ball goes to the corner? Well, this player will stay with the basketball. If it's dribbled to the corner, go ahead and rotate up. He stays with the basketball. Okay? However, should the ball be passed to the corner from here, we find that it's too slow for this player to try to beat the basketball down there on the pass. So we're going to want to make a little exchange with that. So when that happens, if the offensive player is down there in the short corner and you're on ball here, and I make the pass to the offensive corner, we want this player to come out and begin playing him in the same ball-up fashion. So you would make a ball call, and that way we know this player has the basketball. This player drops into the help position, drop into the help position, and there we are in a help position again. And what we want our players to do is we want to always front the low post. We would want this player to come all the way around to the front because we're going to apply maximum pressure. We want to make it impossible for that player to get the ball to me. Now, it is open right now if this player wanted to lob over. To keep that from happening, we're going to go ahead and drop this weak side guard. We want him to make what we call the deep drop. So if the ball is in the hands of the corner player, this player is going to drop all the way down here. So if we had an offensive player in this position, they might be able to lob it over this player, but the help is right there. The only place for the basketball to go is backwards, and that's the whole idea. Now, should the ball go backwards, make the pass to me here, ball call, and notice how they shift, and it starts to retake its shape again. Ball dribbled out here to the front.
Ball.
Because the ball just went above the free throw line extended, this player now is in control. No matter where we head around here, he stays with it until we break the free throw line extended.
Ball.
Ball. If the ball's dribbled, you'll stay with me. However, if we were up here and we made the pass, ball, drop, deep drop, very good. When it comes to a good sound defense, a defense has to in some way or another eventually end up in good rebounding position. And your players need to be ready to rebound the basketball in any defensive alignment, and the players need to be aware of what their rebounding responsibilities are.